Oh, I think she did. Uh, she didn't want to come back home, but I think the reason being back to this, trying to play mother. To me, she was a very good mother, by the way, but she had a way about her that I think amazed other kids because she just had a way of being aloof, and we had a real kind of a free, maybe too open family life going there with all the crazy people. Whether all that was good for the kids receiving the right disciplines and what have you. I'll point this out, though. We have no right-wingers in our family here. They're all quite liberal and are freely trying to do their thing and make an honest living. They're not phony in any way like a lot of people I now find nowadays. So ironically, without, I think, the best help from their parents, it's almost a miracle. They've all turned out quite well here. I met her. I have to do it this way. She's an artist in her own way. Her um, specialty, I'm trying to think of another word, but her specialty at the time was dancing, both ballet and modern. And I first saw her in by Bob Moulton, some kind of a theater setup he had at dance. It included her dancing at the University of Minnesota. He was the head of the dance department and the general art department. And I saw her dancing, and God, I remember she had a standing ovation with whatever she did. Kind of a Aladdin lamp type dance. And I thought, God, is this woman really exciting? I used to go to, some ballet workouts and had some interest along that line, but then I saw her at a party, and I thought, God, this is this woman I saw dancing. And the party was at a house, and we're all, yakking it up and drinking and what have you, and I made a point of introducing her somehow, and we got going on dates and this and that. Then she got a job at Prine's bookstore, and I'd go over there and see her. There's something about her, not only being beautiful, but just her way of talking and her voice. I still like hearing her voice. Well, it just intrigued me, and we ended up in time getting married and had a child right off the bat, and so on and so on. So it's we had our ups and downs, but no real big heavy-duty arguments. I think when the time came for a divorce, I guess we both, agreed that it was that time. On the other hand, I think we're still very fond of each other. And I think I'm just lucky to keep the thing going a little bit. She's having her problems, but we're all older now. It's a brand new ball game now with these relationships. He was a young boy. I think all they do is wrong half the time compared to young girls. And I kept saying, it's kind of cruel, but thank God I didn't have any boys like Chris. He'd drive me nuts. Or, I shouldn't mention other families, but I found him, he was a fun guy and I think intelligent. And I couldn't figure out the relationship between, especially he and his brother. I thought was really weird. Our kids used to fight, but he and his brother just didn't. One would come in the room, the other one would leave, and vice versa. And it just seemed so bizarre. And I don't know if my kids really got along with the Pirsig kids, but they had to follow their parents. So sometimes I think Chris would stay with us, and then our kids would stay over at their place. So I didn't have a way of really sizing him up. Again, I knew enough. Each family is so different, but I never really disliked him, but I wasn't fond of him. I was of some young men that I worked with in my so-called social working days. I felt very sorry for some of these little boys because they had mothers that were so weird, and the fathers were even worse. So I could tell myself, well, God, no wonder the kid's a little mixed up. On the other hand, here both Nancy and Bob seem to be very rational, sensible people, and I don't want to say they're lovable. No one's lovable, but I thought, God, I can't figure out what's wrong with this setup there. But those are some of my ideas about Chris there. I'm not sure whether Chris enjoyed the trip. I seem to complain. His stomach was upset. This is all mentioned in the book. By the way, the book is quite good description-wise of, I think, Sylvia and myself. We don't have our due. I've always told people, God, you didn't turn out too good. Well, my reply to this, I can write my own damn book here if I think that's that important. And I think Chris, at times, I had to use my imagination. I think he liked kind of zipping around on the cycle. I probably would have, too. My father cut out when I was about 10. I can barely remember him. I had so little contact with him. And I thought, well, at least Bob's in there trying to do something with his kid. And back when I grew up, these fathers, to me, I looked down on all of them. Now, they didn't do anything with their families. They'd be in the bar after work and, well, so on, so on. Now I'm seeing fathers carrying their babies around and 4-year-olds and 5 years old. Now, well, maybe the mother's working or what have you, but I think with certain segments now the fathers are doing a much better coordinating a job of their responsibilities compared to, my day. No, I don't. He'd go on a complaint kick every now and then, but hell, I see that in some of the bookstores. I go to Barnes and Noble, like Sylvia calls them meltdowns. They can't get some little trinket that they're nuts about and have a fit. And I didn't find that with Chris. Again, this was a lot of pressure on him, but I think I either read, I'm reading it again, that Chris was kind of happy that we were getting out of the scene, which makes sense to me too, because it's adults talking here. We're seeing things that, who in the hell, that wouldn't interest a kid that's 11 or 12 years old. I used to hate going with my parents when we had to go on these trips to, God, Chatfield, and there's nothing down there. I missed my buddies. I don't think, kind of like Chris, I don't think he had many friends that I knew of. I never saw other young people hanging around in their house. God, compared to our house over on Colfax, Jesus, was like we had 3 families going all the time there, including the people who lived behind us and a couple down the block. And, well, it was kind of like I don't know, a YMCA at our joint there. I didn't find that at the Pirsig homestead there. How's any book changed anyone's life, Like, have you read a book, oh, God, now I'm going to become a plumber, or I'm going to be a drummer after seeing Gene Krupa. That's not reading, that's viewing, which is an interesting point. On the other hand, in one way it did, because here's a person I can remember that I could talk philosophy to. When you go to school, that's why I loved 2 or 3 of my teachers at McAllister. You ask and talk about, or you should be asking and talking about questions like you were only 10, 12, 13 years old. Is there a God? I'd love to have a dad that would say, what do you think, son? Do you think there's a God around? Or he'd bring the question to me. What do you think of this vase? I remember we used to argue about this. What do you think makes this beautiful? I mentioned a beauty problem. One would be the great Zen picture called persimmons. There's 5 persimmons. They're beautiful. I don't know if Lee's ever seen the picture. It's in Suzuki's book on Zen Buddhism. They're beautiful. What that is, I don't know. I think Bob tried to explore this in his quality approaches to this. He doesn't even come close because, as he also points out, it can't be explained. It's like Charlie Rose asking these people, what is your secret? And how do you gotta want to break the TV set? Where did you get this? Did it happen, on the night of the 4th when you were in the bathroom, or what was that? And all these things are ongoing processes. They're worth going into to keep up the kind of fight. It drove Pirsig nuts. But what is quality? And I think families, this sounds really corny, they don't do this. I don't know whether they ever have. We did it a little bit at Pirsig's house, not with Chris, but in talking. These should be nice little talks that all families should have, where it's political, right wing, left wing, capitalism, and all the junk going on. Why are we killing people? Is it good to kill people if you're a Christian? Actually, I'd point out you're not supposed to, but these are things that no one seems to want to bite the bullet anymore, and I don't want to get carried away, but without some talks like this, this is really being civilized. We're going down the tube. Oh, I have met some interesting people. I think you're interesting. But in a kind of general way, nothing that a eureka type thing, or I'll compare it to this, the things since the book, and they have nothing to do with the book. I've always been interested in ethical, political questions, and I don't know if the book is added only in some kind of a prestige way. People will come to me, God, you're the guy in blah, blah, blah. That's kind of cool. It's an honor. But, for an example, I like to talk about this. What some experiences have you had that you still think about? The other day I got a letter from a man, now I can't think of his name, who's written a book and got his PhD. His book is about Pirsig's book. And he was out here with a camera crew and this and that. And in the letter, there's a contract in there and some other things. Then he mentioned that he had noticed or had an interview somehow with Ellsberg, the great psychiatrist, psychologist, political person, Daniel Ellsberg. And God, I read that and I thought, and he's just kind of discovered the Dorothy Day Catholic movement, Catholic worker movement. To me, for my first thought was, I think people should have known all about this 40 years ago. And so this guy who's writing all about quality and this and that, I'm thinking, well, this is a quality woman we've had around here. And I had the honor, and I'm going to write this guy and tell him, I had the honor of being her driver on 2 different occasions when she'd come here to to give talks. She couldn't talk in any of the Catholic churches, but Unitarians and the Lutherans would take her on. And I don't know why I'm babbling about that now, but these are some significant people that I've had contacts with that are in certain ways much more important, but they keep coming around since I'm rereading these books again and reminding me of Pirsig's book, almost reminding me of the questions I'm being asked right now about this. So that's how I try to answer that question.